The airstrikes targeted sites belonging to ousted president, damage caused to the ships. The United Nations lambasted Israel's strikes on Syria, highlighting that there's absolutely no basis under international law to preventively Israel released a footage said to show troops operating in a buffer zone on the east of the annexed Golan Heights, claiming to protect its residents as well as the Israeli civilians. UN calls Israel's move troops to the buffer zone a while of al-Assad by the rebels. He pledged UN support in the smooth transition of power in the country.
The UN is totally committed to supporting a smooth transition of power with an inclusive political process in which the rights of all minorities will be fully respected, and paving the way towards a united, sovereign Syria with its territorial integrity fully re-established.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on an emergency tour to West Asia to press principles he has outlined for the new government that it should be inclusive of Syria's diverse population. Biden's top aide will head first to Jordan, which is Syria's often uneasy neighbor and a key U.S. partner in the region, before going to Turkey, which is the main supporter of the rebels that toppled al-Assad over the weekend. Syria's caretaker Prime Minister Mohammed al-Bashir has said that his government will guarantee minority rights. He also pledged justice for those he called the victims of Assad's rule. With HTS leader Abu Muhammad al-Gulani vowing that the officials involved in torturing detainees will not be pardoned. Meanwhile, Assad's Baath party announced that it was suspending work, adding that its property and funds would be handed over to the interior and the finance ministers. More on this, we're now being joined by Chris Doyle, Director of CABU, which is the Council for Live from London. Welcome to WION, Mr. Doyle.
Thank you for having me.
Now, it does look like that Israel is seizing on the Syrian chaos and Tel Aviv has continued to strike Syria's military targets. First up, your assessment of the situation right now, and do you think that the strikes are temporary?
The situation in Syria is extremely delicate. You have this fledgling transitional period, and there are many things that can disrupt that can block it to the path that Syrians are all hoping for, a free Syria, that they had to endure under 53 years of Assad family rule. So we have, I think, concerns about the nature of that transition. Will it be politically inclusive? But also, as you rightly highlight, this very fragile moment can also be destroyed and disrupted by external interventions. And Israel has, by bombing all of these sites, by expanding its territorial land grab, and I remind viewers and listeners that Israel is already in occupation of the Golan Heights. In doing it, it is potentially aggravating that situation. It is weakening those transitional authorities. They're not able to defend in any shape or form, and to be even severe.
Right, Mr. Doyle, like you mentioned, that Israel to the table for Israel. Do you think that there are fears of unrest spilling over into the Israeli territory at this point of time?
All of us have legitimate fears that, there could be instability in Syria. There are so many different groupings and parts of Syrian society, and that's why it's absolutely necessary that any transitional authority is fully inclusive, that everybody feels that they have a stake in the future of Syria. What's definitely the last thing that is needed is foreign powers, Israel or Turkey in the north, who will try to exploit this situation because Israel is vulnerable, has no ability to defend itself, and indeed the patrons, the backers of the former regime, Iran and Russia are not really in a situation to intervene. So it's absolutely vital that the major international powers deliver a very strong message to Israel, to Turkey, and any other actor who wishes to exploit the situation. Hands off. This must be a Syrian-led process. You must allow them to find their own way forward, because if you don't, you are going to promote the very civil strife that you will fear and that will bring you insecurity. It applies to Turkey just as much as it does to Israel. Of course, there are other neighbouring countries, Jordan and Lebanon, for example, who've been through so much, whose economies are suffering, not least because of what's happened in Syria. Too, need to see stability.